Hello, everybody, and welcome to Graphic Intention. Today, I am bringing you kind of a mix of different videos. I am doing an unboxing at the beginning of the video, and then the actual video for the rest of the time will be the real-time drilling of this particular canvas. And then during this video, my audio section is going to be a get to know me. So let's get started with the unboxing. The reason I combined these two videos is because there really wasn't much to unbox. It was a canvas from Wish and it came in a little plastic bag. It wasn't wrapped around any foam core or anything. It was just folded. There were 9 colors, so there wasn't anything to inventory or whatnot. So the information about this particular canvas is, let me pull this up for you. Okay, so I named her Butterfly Cat. I bought her on Wish on February 14th, and she arrived on March 18th. It's a 30 by 30 canvas, partial round. I paid $6.75, but there um, is an Easter sale going on right now on Wish where you get 50% off. I don't know if it's the whole store or just certain things, but this is one of the things that you can get 50% off. So you can get the 30 by 30 for $3 instead of $6.75. Um, I just, wanted to let you know if you did not know about that sale, go check it out because it seems to be a really good sale. Okay, the canvas number for this is 7151. Now, because it was folded and tucked into that bag, I had to iron it. It wasn't really creased, which I was surprised because it was like basically just folded, but the canvas wasn't really horribly creased. I think that's because there wasn't a whole lot of adhesive on it. But a quick little run of the iron, and I didn't have any issues except the edges of the canvas were trying to curl in on itself. But, that, as you can see in the video, really wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't have any issues with the canvas. The printing on here was very nice. It was only 9 colors, so I didn't have to worry about missing gems or anything like that. And then at the end of the video, I do lay out the leftover gems that I had, and I had plenty of gems left over, drills. I continue to call them gems even to this day. Anyway, I had plenty of drills left over. I actually had more drills left over in each bag at the end of this painting than I do at the end of some of my 40 by 50 paintings. So I was very surprised at how many drills that they really included for this little canvas. Now, I am not a huge fan of the partial diamond paintings because one, I get most of my pleasure from actually doing the drilling itself. And so having this canvas, you get a 30 by 30 and you expect, okay, this is going to take me a few hours, 4 or 5 hours. But I got this done in an hour and a half because you're only drilling the kitty fur and that little bow. So you're not even doing the eyes or anything like that. Everything that's on the background is printed, so you don't do any drilling with that. Um, Another reason why I don't like partial canvases very much is because it kind of looks out of place when it's finished because you've got um, the main subject is all sparkly and reflective and, shiny and diamondy. And then you've got the rest of the canvas that is just kind of printed on this blah, semi sort of shiny canvas. But the two don't seem to go together very well. But I haven't quite decided what kind of frame I'm going to use for this at the moment, so you only get a description, which means that's right, you guessed it. You get to come back if you want to see how I framed it and watch that follow-up video. So the review on this canvas is, I would say, probably 4 stars. It's a great price, really, really inexpensive. It came rather fast for China mail. It was one day less of a month, so that is nothing to complain about. The canvas was really nicely done. The printing was very clear. You could see the image really nice. The overall completed um, quality of the image was nice. Even though I don't like partial paintings, I'm not going to dock it for that because it is what it is. The only thing that it got a negative star for was the packaging because it was just kind of folded and stuffed in an envelope. So there was no real care taken for how it was shipped. So 4 stars on this guy, no problem. Excellent. Now then, moving on into the get to know me portion of the video. What I did is I went and I looked up some get to know me questions so that I could answer them. And did you know that there is a YouTube challenge of 30 questions that you can answer? And you're supposed to like tag get to know me? I did not know that. This is usually done on video so that you can see me reacting to answering these questions, but I think you can hear just fine um, how I'm reacting to all of these different questions. Also, I went and I found a another just quick little get to know me of topics that weren't included in that get to know me tag. So the get to know me questions are a lot of um, like what was your first dream job? What was your first what is your coffee order? What do you order with Uber Eats and things like that. But these other questions are what are my favorite color, favorite quotes, what are my favorites, things like that, and shoe size, height, eye color, just to kind of get to know um, things like that. And I thought that those questions would be really appropriate for this type of video because you're not looking at me. So you can't look at me and go, oh, she's got blonde hair or she's got black hair or she's got green eyes or whatever. So I think that these questions are very appropriate for this particular type of video. Plus, I really need something that will take an hour and a half for me to do. And I don't know that the get to know me is 30 questions. I don't know that that's enough to get me through that whole hour and a half. So I am going to get through as many of these as I possibly can. I'm going to start off with the get to know me questions that are as a part of that challenge. And then whatever time I have left over, I will add in those other questions. So let's get started. I'm going to get a drink, just 1 second. Okay, did you miss me? You didn't even know I was gone, did you? Yes, I did pause the recording so you didn't have to listen to me chugging down my orange juice. All right, so number one question on this little form is what is your favorite Netflix show? So, Netflix is kind of a funny beast. I don't have a favorite Netflix show um, because whenever I find a show that I like, I binge watch it until that series is over and then I forget about it and I move on to the next one. So, it's generally whatever show I'm watching at that particular moment is my favorite. With that being said, this is going to sound really childish, but the current one that I am watching is The Vampire Diaries. I started watching this a long time ago, and it kind of fell off my radar a little bit, and I picked it back up. I generally don't like watching series that have not finished yet because, like I said, I like to be able to binge watch the entire series and then forget about it. A really great example of that is Penny Dreadful. I would say if I had to pick my favorite show that's on Netflix right now, it would be Penny Dreadful. And that's because if you've never seen Penny Dreadful was a magazine or a publication which introduced all of the classic monsters and classic beasts that go bump in the night. So Dorian Gray, werewolves, vampires, um, just all of the different characters were not invented, but um, first exposed or brought to the world through these Penny Dreadful little publications. Well, Penny Dreadful is a series that kind of brings to life that whole theory. So all of those creatures are included in this show, incorporated in this show. So you've got Frankenstein and the doctor that created him. You've got Dorian Gray, you've got vampires and werewolves and, you know, witches and just all of these different characters, but they all really work well together in the same show as a cohesive unit. And I thought that it was just really well done. And I love the lady who played the main actress. She just did a really great job. Um, Now, looking at the question again, it might be asking what is my favorite show that is a Netflix original. And if I was to have to choose one, I would probably say, mm, let me do a little research on that. One second. Okay, so I pulled up Netflix to check it out, and holy baloney, there are a lot of original Netflix programs. Okay, so I'm gonna have to pick a few. My favorite Netflix original movie is The Bird Box. I know some people are gonna, there's a lot of memes out there making fun of the movie, but I thought it was really well done. And, you know, I'm not all too sure about the whole don't look at them thing because I thought that was a little bit far-fetched, but I loved the whole concept of um, that that the movie brought. I thought it was really great. Okay, so as far as TV show goes, season one it has been introduced for the Umbrella Academy. I'm a big fan of, as you can probably tell, I'm a big fan of supernatural and otherworldly type of stuff. So vampires, werewolves, things like that. I get a big kick out of that. And the Umbrella Academy is kind of a spin-off of mu- mutants. So kind of like an X-Men, but dysfunctional. And it's a group of people that were all born on the same day in the same manner. And the guy that adopts them dies, bringing them all back together, and they have to, figure out a way to save the world. But it was done with just enough comedy and just enough drama to really bring those two elements together really well. I don't want to give up, a whole bunch of spoilers or anything like that. So let me just say Umbrella Academy would have to be one of my top current favorites. I did watch that first season and I loved it. The second one is Orange is the New Black. This one is probably what made Netflix original programming get on the map because there are a ton of programs out there for men in prison. You've got Prison Break and Breaking Bad and OC something. I mean, there are just so many, I don't even know them all. But Orange is the New Black is the first one that I know of that was a really well done um, female prison story. And it's not like realistic in in my opinion, it's not realistic at all, like some of the other ones try to be. It just tells the story of several of different inmates and why they got into prison and what they do while they're in prison and what life is like and things like that. It is way over the top. So if you're looking for a realistic documentary kind of series about women in prison, this is probably not the one that you want to watch. But if you're looking for something entertaining, then it was really great. Another one that I like, and I know this is favorite, but I'm putting favorites because I've got an hour and a half to kill here, folks. Um, but Haunting of Hill House, this one, ugh, I don't know if they're going to have more than one season, but the first season that I watched kind of, it showed the entire, it had a very, very well-defined ending. So I'm not sure how they would have a second season. But the first season, uh, it, this is one that you actually have to pay attention to because there are so many different hidden signals and different hidden messages. And if you're not really paying attention, you can miss those and then you get really lost towards around, I would say, episode 4 or 5. But then the ending where it all wraps up and it all comes full circle, it's just amazingly done, really well done. So I cannot speak high enough of the Haunting on Hill House. So what else did I see on here? Last Kingdom, I think that they did that as kind of they wanted to compete with the Vikings. So I am a huge diehard fan of the Vikings, and because of that, I have boycotted The Last Kingdom, and I'm not going to watch that until the end, until I watch the last season of Vikings, which is season 6. So if you did not know, there are only going to be 6 seasons of the Vikings. It has been canceled, probably because they killed off Ragnar, and that whole show was based around Ragnar. Um, yeah. Let's see. So other Netflix originals. Um, I think those would be my top three. If I was just kind of throwing out some other ones to watch just because you wanna. Um, Let me see if I can find some. I'm not sure if the 100 is a Netflix. Well, let me see here. I know I should have done all of this research before I even got on got on here, but um, yeah, I didn't. I'm terrible. Since 8, if you're okay with LGBT type of content, Sense 8 is it's almost mind-boggling. It's about 8 people that are all kind of joined together mentally so they can all feel or sense what each other's going through. So if, say, you've got 8 people, person number one gets in a fight, the other people know that that person is fighting and they can either jump in and help, like by mentally showing them how to do I can't explain it, but they're all connected and they're from all over the world. So you've got somebody from Africa, you've got somebody from Moscow, you've got somebody from Asia, just all over the world, and they can all understand each other because they're in each other's minds. So that's another really good one if you are interested in more of an LGBT type of program, then I would suggest Sense 8. Now, those are my top picks for Netflix. If you want, because you have to show Hulu some love too, right? Because Hulu is putting out some really great um, content to try and keep up with the Netflix craze. Hulu, the only show that I know is a Hulu original is The Handmaid's Tale. Freaky deaky deaky show. It is so close to reality, or might I say, reality is so close to The Handmaid's Tale that it's scary. And this is not a feel good kind of show. Whenever something good happens or starts happening in the show, and you're like, oh, finally, the main character is going to have a break. She's going to have something good happen to her. Bam! They punch you in the face, and they just turn that good thing so that it's horribly, horrifically, terribly horrible. and you're left feeling like, oh my God, I just got hit by a train. So it's constantly just everything that can go bad, everything that can go wrong happens to this woman. And uh, I it takes a little bit of effort to watch that kind of a show because, like I said, there is absolutely everything that you think is going good ends up getting flipped on its face, and so it takes a little out of you to watch it, but it's still a fascinating show. So that is the answer to number one. What is your favorite Netflix slash favorites Netflix show slash shows or Hulu? Because I threw all of that in the same one. Okay, so question number two on this little questionnaire is show us your songs tab on Spotify. Um, I don't have a Spotify. I know that it's a music program, a music app or something like that, but I don't have it. There are so many platforms out there to save so many different music lists, and I mean, there's Pandora and X Music. I mean, I don't even know what they all are. So I do not have a Spotify. However, I have iTunes. So what I'm going to do is instead of showing my songs tab for Spotify, I will read you guys the top 10 most often played songs on my iTunes. Oh my gosh, I'm having problems talking. I keep wanting to say iPhone, but it's not an iPhone, it's iTunes. Okay, so the number one top played song is Alive by Sia. The second is Stand By Me, which has been redone by Key Theory or Kai Theory. If you haven't heard that, I really like it. It's done in kind of a cinematic, epic movie soundtrack kind of uh, way, and I just love it. Plus, the video is really interesting. If you watch the video, it takes the theme of Stand By Me and puts it in a completely different light. Number three is For Your Entertainment by Adam Lambert. Number four is Nothing Left to Say by Imagine Dragons. Number five, No One Knows by Queens of the Stone Age. Number six is Someone Like You by Adele. Number seven is I'll Fly Away by Alison Krauss and the Union Station. This is a song off the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack. Um, Number eight is Sail by AOL Nation. And then Sail Away by David Gray. Then number 10 is Chasing the Sky by the Empire cast. It was on the soundtrack for the Empire TV show. So, as you can see, I have a little bit of several different genres in there. So, the pop, I've got rock, I've got alternative, I've got bluegrass, I've got a little bit of, I guess that, uh, yeah, that about covers it. I was going to say I have hard rock in there, but that's, I guess, subject to debate. Okay, so those are my top 10 songs. So that would be the answer to number two. Show us your songs tab on Spotify. So number three, what is the craziest thing you have done? Hands down, without a doubt, the craziest thing I ever did was joined the military at 30 years old. I would not recommend it, but yeah, I did that. I spent the first 30 years of my life doing all of the weird, stupid, childish things that I could do. Um, I tried drugs, I tried alcohol, I had sex, I did it all. And it took me 30 years to get that out of my system. Now, not the drugs. I only did drugs until I was, you know, I, let's just say I quit when I was 18. Uh, and I haven't touched anything since then. So I did do a little experimenting when I was a teenager, but I don't want you to think that I'm like, some dope addict or something. Anyways, so the craziest thing is I joined the military when I was 30 years old. I was in active duty Army, and I did 8 weeks of basic training, and then I did 8 weeks of advanced individual training, and I was deployed 3 weeks after I got assigned my duty station. And my MOS is what's called a rapid deployment unit, which means we are deployed every 6 months or every year, depending. Um, I would probably say every year because there are only 2 units that do our MOS. So the year, the way that it happens is we are only allowed to be deployed for 6 months at a time. So uh, when I first arrived at the unit, the unit was getting ready to deploy, and they, for some reason, needed another woman because you have to have even numbers of females to go on deployments as battle buddies. It's like this whole, protection thing to make sure that everybody's safe. I don't really know exactly why the reason was, but I got chosen. So I deployed. I was deployed for 6 months, and then the second batch of our unit was getting ready, and we overlapped. They came and relieved us, and we went home, and then we began um, preparations to deploy to another area. So it was constantly. Um, One group of us were either deploying or getting ready to deploy. So I deployed in 2006, then I was home for 2007, and I deployed again in 2008. When I was deployed in 2006, I was within the states. I was deployed to Aberdeen in Maryland, and I spent 6 months there. When I deployed in 2008, I was deployed to Baghdad, Iraq, and that was actually closer to a 9 month deployment because we had the beginning of the deployment. We spent a week or two in Kuwait acclimating, getting used to the temperature because the temperature is completely different than it is in the States. So we acclimated for those couple of weeks, and then we all went to our separate bases within the war zone of where everybody was going to be stationed. And me and my little group went to Iraq, and we were stationed there for 7 months. So uh, we served 6 months, and then we spent another month there training the group that was replacing us. So it was basically a 7 month um, deployment, but we only did 6 months of actually us doing the work. Anyways, so on top of joining the military when I was 30, the second craziest thing that I did was when they were looking for volunteers to do special forces assistant training. So the special forces were getting ready to go and do an operation where they were going to be rescuing some um, prisoners from a Spanish speaking country. Now, a lot of people in my MOS were from Puerto Rico. I don't know why. That's kind of weird, but they were. So there was a lot of Spanish speaking people. And they came to us and said, "Hey, do you want to come and help this training exercise? You guys are going to be the bad guys. A couple of you will be the prisoners, but we need you to speak Spanish to try and, make it as realistic as possible." So they all got together and picked who was going to go. And I actually got to go because I was going to play the part of a surprise um, prisoner that nobody knew I was there. So they kind of snuck me in, and when we got to the area, it was all set up like this little village. There were several different huts, and there was a fire pit where we would sit around and eat, and we all had to go out and do, the, oh God, I can't think of the word now, where you go out and monitor the areas around you and, make sure that no trouble is happening. So, I would I was brought in and I was put into one of the buildings and I did not leave. So for the entire weekend, it was a 3-day um, drill. So for the entire 3 days, I was in this one building, and I didn't leave, so that while the special forces were monitoring us and watching us, they never saw me. Um, so it was kind of that element of surprise. Their NCOs wanted to know how they would react to somebody that they did not know was going to be there. And it was actually quite funny. The We went and we did our little thing for the 3 days, and then night came on the third night, and we knew that was when they were going to hit. Um, Well, actually, we didn't. I'm going to take that back because they told us it was going to be a 5-day mission. But on the third night, the special forces came in, and they came in and they hit us hard and heavy. They threw little flash bomb grenades and uh, just there was a lot of they use blanks, so there was a lot of gunfire and a lot of screaming and shouting and um, giving directions and things like that. The special forces went in and started clearing all of the buildings, and I was tied up like they wrapped my hands in like this little fake wrapping and stuff. So I was bound and I was like tucked in a little ball in a corner and I was crying and kind of rocking. And the guy comes up, the special forces guy comes up and he grabs me by the shoulders and he picks me up and he's yelling at me and he's like, "Who are you?" But he's saying it in Spanish and I didn't speak Spanish. So I was just like, you know, crying harder and he pulled the hood off of my head and he like dropped me and he goes, "Oh my God, you're a woman." I did clean that language up a little bit for you guys. You're welcome. So he was like, "You're a woman." And he just kind of looked at me and I was like, "Yeah, I am." So I guess because I answered, it shocked him into, remembering what the whole point of the exercise was. So he picked me up and literally threw me across the room towards the door. And he's like, "Go out there." And it was just so much fun. The adrenaline was insane, but it was so much fun. So I would definitely have to say that would be the second craziest thing within the first craziest thing that I've done. Um, but yeah, I will never forget that experience. And if I could go back and do it again, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I loved it. So anyway, that is the answer to question number 3. What is the craziest thing you have done? So number 4, describe your first crush. I have a little bit of problem remembering a lot of my past. Um, but so I'm going to tell you the first crush that I remember. There might be ones before this, but I don't remember them. And I apologize if you were a crush and you're like, "Hey, I know you were crushing on me when you were 8 years old. Why didn't you know, mention me in this video?" I forgot you, dude. Sorry. But the first person I remember having a crush on, his name was MJ. I'm just going to leave it at that. Those are his initials, MJ. I was in junior high school, and he was this beautiful creature. I, uh, he had these dark eyes and dark hair, and back in those days, I dressed grunge, so I wore, band t-shirts, the chain wallets, baggy jeans, combat boots, that kind of look. And he was a lot like me, so we ended up hanging out in the same crowd. And then his best friend started dating my best friend, which means we got to hang out even more. But I was crazy shy back then. I mean, I still am, but I was crazy shy. I mean, to the point that if I wanted to take a picture of somebody, I would like hide and do it secretly because I didn't want them to, I, I was just too shy to come out and take a picture. So that's how bad it was. But MJ and I, we lived near Six Flags in Arlington, which is a big amusement park. And we would get season passes so that during the summer we could go out there anytime. We could spend all day, and our parents had less to worry about because we were in more of a controlled environment. So my mom would drop me off at Six Flags on her way to work or whatever, pick me up on her way home. And his dad did the same thing. And there was a whole group of us that their parents did that same thing of dropped us off every day and just let us hang out at Six Flags. And we ended up kind of creating this little group of us we called the family. And he was the dad, and I was called the mother. And he would only talk to me, and then I would relay his messages to other people. So if people wanted to talk to him, they'd have to talk to me. So I thought it was really cool. It wasn't like a gang. We didn't do anything stupid. We didn't steal or hurt anybody or anything like that. We just were a group of kids looking to have fun riding roller coasters and things like that. But I just thought that that was the coolest thing. Of course, even going through all of that, I never told him that I had a crush on him. Probably my biggest mistake because, ugh, that would have been beautiful. We would have had beautiful babies. Anyway, so that is my first crush. Now, if I was to get really technical and describe my first crush for both sexes, he would be my first male crush. I am bisexual, so I don't judge. I don't care what you are. If you're cool, I like you. My first female crush, her name was DM. That is the initials of her name. And she was my best friend for a long time. We would go over to each other's house and hang out. She had this gorgeous long blonde hair, and even though she wore glasses, they looked good on her. She was just a very beautiful young girl. And um, I think we were also in uh, junior high, maybe a little bit younger. No, I'm pretty sure it was junior high. I didn't really think too much about other people in that way before junior high. Once junior high hit and puberty started hitting, that's when I really started noticing that other people were attractive. So we did everything together. She, her family and my family both raised Cocker Spaniels, and so she had a male dog that she named Lancelot, and I had a female dog that I named Guinevere, and we would breed them. And it was just, we were very, very close people. And I still have her on my Instagram today. So uh, keeping track of her, that's kind of interesting. But so yeah, those would be my first two crushes. The answer to number four. Moving right along here. Number five, what theme parks have you been to? Oh my goodness. So I don't remember the names of them. You're going to make me look them up, aren't you? Give me just a second. I'm going to look these up. One second. Okay, so I went and I looked, and while I was deployed to Aberdeen and Delaware, we went to um, Busch Gardens in Williamsburg. That was We got to go there because we got free tickets. There was a military appreciation day, and they sent us free tickets. So my whole group got to go, and we had a ton of fun. We ended up all pretty much going our own separate ways, and we met up at the end. me and a friend of mine went together and we rode as much as we could possibly ride, and then everybody else went their own ways. I'm not sure what they did, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, I went to Six Flags of Arlington. I never went to Wet and Wild, which was right across the street. I've never really been a bathing suit kind of person. I don't have the body for it. Nobody wants to look at my jiggle. Um, so I never went to any of the water parks, but those are the two amusement parks I've been to. I know I'm a little bit not selfish, a little bit sheltered. That's what I'm looking for. Oh my goodness. Now, it does ask what theme parks you have been to, but I've never been to a theme park. So I'm answering what amusement parks have you been to? Now, you might be asking, what's the difference between a theme park and amusement park? Amusement park is more rides and food and stuff like that. Theme parks is like your Disney World, um, your uh, what is the one with all SeaWorld and stuff like that, where it's got a theme to it. So amusement parks are just for the rides and things like that, and themes are actually themed. Or at least that's my take on it. I could be totally wrong. Anyway, so that is number 5. Number 6. Who was your childhood best friend? My childhood best friend, um, I think I had a lot. That's a hard one because my I my mom, it was a single mom, and it was me, my mom, and my half brother, and we moved a lot. And when I say move, I don't mean like move down the street. We lived in El Paso, which is far as far west Texas as you can get. I've lived in Longview, which is as far east Texas as you can get. Dallas, McKinney, Houston. We have lived all over Texas. So I've had a lot of best friends growing up. And I don't want to name anybody because, like I said, I have a lot of memory issues and I would hate things like that. I would hate to forget somebody. And that's just, a recipe for disaster. So let's just say that everybody that I knew growing up was my best friend. And we'll leave it at that. So number 6, who is your childhood best friend? Everybody. So number 7, what is your favorite genre of film and why? This was an interesting one because it actually changed. It used to be historical dramas, and by that I mean like Tombstone or things Gladiator and stuff like that, where it was historical but also dramatic, like not historical comedy or romance or something, but dramatic historical films were my hands down. If you put something like that in front of me, you would have a new best friend for at least 2 hours. But now it has kind of evolved into science fiction. Um, and my absolute number one film of all time is not just one film, it's a series of films, and that is Star Wars. I am a Star Warian. I can't help it. Um, so yes, that's the science fiction would be my current favorite genre. And why? Um, I think because it, if you are able to really get into a movie that brings such drastically different ways of living or drastically different concepts, it expands your world. So, like I could watch 27 Dresses and I could enjoy it, but that's not going to expand anything and it's not going to expand the way I think. It's not going to um, really influence me in any kind of profound way. Whereas watching shows of even historical dramas, placing myself as a 21st century woman in a time where gladiators were fighting, or in a time where, you know, there were men shooting each other in the streets, or, just the different situations, is it really gets you thinking about things other than your current situation. And the same thing goes for science fiction. It really broadens your horizons of what possibilities are out there, what could be going on, you know, beyond what the eye can see. Are there other creatures out there? What are they like? What do they think about us? How would we actually interact if one of them did appear and things like that? Um, you can't answer those questions just thinking about it. I mean, you can, but it's kind of like, what would you do in a fire? You would think that you would stop, drop, and roll because that's what you learned all along since you were a kid. But when you're actually in a fire, everything else kind of falls away and muscle memory takes over. So you don't know exactly how you're going to react just by thinking about it. And by watching movies and watching other people interact in those kinds of situations, it helps me to think about, okay, this is how they did it and this is what happens when they did it. So, I don't know. It it broadens my way of thinking. So that is why my current favorite genre of film is science fiction. But I also still love my historical drama. Okay, so I hope that was okay. I feel like a little bit of a geek now. But anyway, number 8. What was your dream job as a kid? My dream job as a kid was a doctor. I always wanted to be a doctor from the day that I knew how to say the word. Um, I just wanted to be able to help people. I wanted to be able to fix people. And I think that was a really huge motivator for a lot of the stuff that I did as a kid. But as I grew older, I realized that it's not all fixing. There are a lot of times where you can't fix somebody, or you actually end up inadvertently hurting somebody. And I have the kind of personality that if something happened, even if it wasn't my fault, say, oh, here's a good example. Okay, I'm in California and I'm doing surgery and there's an earthquake and my hand tremors and I cut somebody a little deeper than I'm supposed to. I don't kill them, I don't maim them, I don't do anything, but just that little bit of I did something to them that I was not supposed to do. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't deal with it. Um, so the thought about that, and then on top of that, the idea of not being able to save someone's life and have somebody die, that when I realized that that would happen, it was a no-brainer. There was no possible way I would ever be a doctor of any kind. I was like, I cannot put myself in that kind of a situation. Can't do it, won't do it. So, doctor ended up going by the wayside, and I decided I wanted to be a vet instead because then I could save helpless little pretty animals and I could make them feel better until I found out that the same applied to animals as it does people. So that is why, in the long run, I ended up going into the field of mortuary, where the people were already deceased and I could not hurt them. The only thing I could possibly do was help them. So that is how I ended up in the field that I went into as an adult. So, number 8, dream job as a kid, doctor slash vet. Number 9, what is your coffee order? Okay, so this one, it depends. Where from am I ordering coffee? Am I ordering coffee from my kitchen? Am I ordering coffee from Wawa, which is a little gas station that's got amazing coffee up in the north? Or am I ordering coffee from Starbucks? So let's answer all three of those questions. Why? Because I still have an hour and a half to go. Well, no, I probably still have an hour to go. But anyway, I've still got lots of time to kill. And you guys are still here listening to me. So we're going to answer all three. Doesn't that sound like fun? All right. If I'm in my kitchen, my coffee is always the same. I have a vanilla biscotti coffee from Folgers that I brew up slightly on the weak side because I don't like a strong coffee. And then I put a 2 tablespoons of sugar and probably a quarter cup of creamer, and then between 12 and 14 ounces of coffee. And that is my coffee cup. And I drink that coffee for about a half an hour before I go and get a second cup, which is usually the rest of the pot. So I will drink a pot of coffee a day and be happy. Um, the Wawa. If I was to go to Wawa, which I guess if you have a queue, which is also a gas station, like a little convenience store, they have the same kind of coffee mate machines where it kind of you go and you push a button and it spits out your coffee, kind of like a soda fountain, but it's hot and it's coffee. And it's French vanilla is, or French cappuccino is the Okay, I got it. French vanilla cappuccino is the flavor that I get. And I also add 3 pumps of the hazelnut creamer because the hazelnut and the vanilla seem to go really good together. So anyway, that is my gas station convenience store coffee order. And if I'm at Starbucks, it's actually I do I'm going to sound so much like a millennial right now. But I do a soy chai latte with a pump of vanilla and no foam, heated at a lower temperature because I'm a pansy and I can't drink it if it's really hot. So that's that's my coffee order. I feel ridiculous saying that out loud. But anyway, it's delicious. If you have not tried a vanilla chai coffee from Starbucks, it's worth the money. But I only do that uh, probably once a week, once a month, somewhere, once every 2 or 3 weeks, somewhere around there, because I can make my coffee cheap, really good in my own house. So, and I like to do things in my own house, not have to go anywhere. Anyway, so coffee order. I answered all three of those. What is your favorite thing to order on Uber Eats? Gah, if only Uber Eats delivered in this area, I would use it, but it doesn't. So, no, I'm lying. It does. It delivers from Denny's. Um, I'm not knocking Denny's. Denny's has really great um, stuffed French toast, but you can't order stuffed French toast through Uber Eats. They've got a very limited menu that you can order on Uber Eats. Why? I have no idea. Um, so, favorite thing to order on Uber Eats is nothing. I do not order anything on Uber Eats. If they did offer Uber Eats in my area and they did allow me to pick any restaurant and anything from any menu from any restaurant in my area, hands down, every single time would be Olive Garden, and I would get their lasagna fritas or frittatas for the appetizer, which is kind of a deep fried lasagna bite, and a their garlic asagio cavatappi, which is a spiral noodle with a fettuccine alfredo type of the alfredo sauce, but it's a garlic alfredo. And then I would get chicken frittatas on top, which is like a deep fried chicken piece. But I get two of them because these pasta bowls are gigantic and it usually has 2 or 3 servings. So I pull one of the chicken breasts out and keep that for the next time I have the rest of the serving. I cut the serving of pasta in half and I eat that, and then I freeze the second half so that the next time I want to eat, I can just pull it out of my freezer. I've got the cavatappi with the chicken frittatas or fritas. I don't know if it's frita or frittata. I definitely don't do that very often. I would say probably once every 3 or 4 months that I get to do that. So that is what I would order on Uber Eats if Uber Eats offered it. So, number 11. Have you moved from home? Have you moved from home? Duh. Where to and how was the experience? Oh my goodness. So I am in my 40s. If I had not moved away from home, I would have issues. Um, I moved away from home when I was 16 years old. I told my mom I was done living under her roof and I was going to go off and do things my own way. I spent the next year or so living in, this is going to sound horrible, but I literally lived in a crack motel. This motel had blood stains on the ceiling from when people shot up, and the little blood splatter from their injection site shot up on the roof. I'm not lying. This motel was horrible. But because I was a 16-year-old girl with uh, the body I was blessed with, I never had to pay rent. I didn't do anything for my rent, so don't get me wrong. But I guess the owner of the motel thought that I would bring in other customers. I don't know what the hell the deal was, but I didn't pay rent. So um, I I lived in that motel and I never had any issues. Nobody ever bugged me. I lived there for probably 6 months or so. Nobody ever bugged me. Nobody ever came into my room or talked to me or anything. It was just, there I was there. And that experience was insane. Um, I moved into that motel with a friend of mine, my best friend at the time. Um, we are not going to say her name either. Gotta protect the innocent, right? Um, so I moved in, I lived with her, and then we ended up dating. So when it was time to get our own place, we got a little apartment, and the owner of that apartment complex charged us weed for for our rent, which is where, um, yeah, I'm going to skip that whole story. So I ended up working at a gentleman's entertainment club, um, and I would get people to tip me in various amounts of weed so that I could pay my rent with it. And I didn't care because I didn't smoke it. And so I was like, whatever. Yeah, I'm not spending my money and I don't care about the weed. So it worked out good for me. But yeah, so that experience was, let's just say, I have not lived that much of a sheltered life. So anyway, yes, have I moved from home? Absolutely. Where to and how's the experience? Crazy. Number 12. Have you ever failed at anything and what did you learn? What kind of a question is this? If you are over the age of 3 years old, you have failed at something. And I would even say if you were under the age of 3, you have failed at something. Even if that is walking your first 7 steps all in a row without falling over. Failure is a part of life, absolutely 100%. You cannot get through life without failing at something. But I think what this question is trying to get at is, have I failed at anything massively life changing, maybe? And the story that I am going to pick here, I will tell you after my bathroom break. 1 second. All right. Um, have you ever failed at anything and what did you learn? Okay, so I was going to share a story, but I changed my mind. I'm going to share this one instead. You're not going to know the difference. So let's just say that I was going to share this one in the beginning. So when I was 11, my mom signed me up or enlisted me in the Navy Cadets, which is kind of a Navy program for kids. We have uniforms, we have muster, we all get together, we do drills, we, do all kinds of stuff. So one of the things that we did is we went up to Lake Texoma, which is on the border of Texas and Oklahoma. And there was a week-long kind of training slash getaway thing that we did up there. And one of the things was an obstacle course. They had all sorts of like how to shoot a bow and arrow and walking across this big rope bridge, and we had to kind of like make a human chain, and I mean, I'll just all different kinds of stuff. Well, one of the things that they had us do was climb this 10-foot wall, and it was straight up. There were no grooves. It wasn't anything to hold on to. It wasn't like a log wall where you had little gaps in between the wood pieces. It was 2x4s that were just stacked on top of each other, kind of thing. So it was very smooth. And since I was the smallest one there, they decided, hey, let's grab her. We can toss her up to the top. She can climb over and then help out the next people to go. So they grabbed me, they hurled me up the wall. I grabbed a hold of the top and I was able to pull myself up so that my arms were hooked over the top of the wall. And I failed big time at getting over that wall. I did not know that there was a standing ledge on the back side of that wall, like a couple of feet down, so that once you get up and over, you can stand on that ledge. I did not know that, but it didn't matter. I held on to the top of the wall like my life depended on it. And I started crying and screaming, and I just wanted to get down. So the like drill instructor type of guy. I don't know who he was, but he climbed up the ladder that was on the back side and he was standing on that little ledge and he was like, "Okay, come on over." And I would not move. I wouldn't let him touch me. I was like, "No, don't touch me. I'm going to fall. I'm going to die." So at this point, I was completely a nervous breakdown, like gone. So they got my mom to come up there and because she was like an instructor and so she went to all of the different events with me. Anyway, so she climbs up this ladder and she's standing over there and she's like, "You can do it. You can come over. Just swing your leg over. And once you do that, you're home free. It's okay. You can do this." Nope. I refused to move. 20 minutes goes by. They had to get a fire department to come out and bring a bucket so that they could scoop me into the little bucket and take me off this wall. So, have I failed at anything? Yes, I have. What did I learn? I am terrified of heights. To this day, I cannot climb a ladder without being afraid of heights. And even like little one or two step stools gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know what it is. It's a phobia, and phobias are generally not based on reality, but yes, I have a fear of heights. That is what I learned from my failure to go over the wall. Okay, so that is number 12. Number 13. How many countries have you traveled to? Let's see. Um, I have only been out of country twice. The first time was when I was deployed to Iraq. So we flew into Germany. I spent an hour in the Germany airport. So I'm counting that because I was in Germany, but I didn't actually see anything other than this really tiny part of the airport. So yeah. And then we went to Kuwait and then we went to Iraq. So those three countries. And then when I got back from that deployment, my mom had gotten me a trip to Ireland. And so me and my best friend at the time, my mom and my dad, all went out to Ireland and spent a week there. If you've never been, it is the most serene, calm, beautiful, green place I have ever seen in my life. Now, we went in the wintertime, the off season, which is how we were able to go because the tickets were so cheap. But I wasn't planning on going golfing or, mountain climbing or anything like that anyway. I just wanted to see the sights. I wanted to see the caves and the castles and the cliffs and just all of the beauty that was out there. So I didn't care that it was cold. So I did that. And I guess I've been to like Jamaica and Mexico because I went on a cruise, but I don't really count those because it's a cruise. So you're basically, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't count that. So, yes, I have been to other countries and I have loved it. I have always wanted to go um, seeing more places, but I'm also such a homebody that it takes so much effort to like mentally prepare myself to go on a trip that I generally end up talking myself out of it. Um, so yeah, I don't think that I'll ever go anywhere else. Those will be my two trips. Okay, so number 14. Who is your celebrity crush? Um, let's see. I'm going to do this the same way that I did with who was my first crush, and I'm going to do the male and female. So this time I'll start with the female, and my female crush right now is Ruby Rose. I first saw her on Orange is the New Black, and I know that she's been around a lot longer than that, and she's been in a lot of other stuff, but I just fell in love with her in Orange is the New Black. And there is a scene where she is not wearing clothing, which just adds to the crush factor. So yes, Ruby Rose, beautiful woman. She's got a fantastic um, persona. Everything that I've read about her, I followed her on Instagram, all the pictures that she posts and things like that. She just seems like an amazingly sweet woman. So that is my female um, celebrity crush. My male celebrity crush would have to be Johnny Depp. I started crushing on Johnny Depp when he was in um, 21 Jump Street. And I thought that he was just, cute as a button back then. And then he started getting roles like Captain Jack Sparrow and um, just all of these more interesting roles where he was able to really um, show off his fantastic acting skills. And of course, as he got older, he just got sexier and sexier. So, yes, Johnny Depp is 100% my male crush, and Ruby Rose is my female crush. Okay, number 15. Do you have any pets? Show them to us. I can't show you because we're doing a voice over audio type of thing, but I can tell you, yes, I have a dog. He is 4 years, well, no, I guess he's 5 years old now. Um, this is a really cute story, though, so I have to share. Um, we got him, he's a pound puppy. We went to the pound and we were looking for a lap pet for my dad. And so we wanted a smaller animal, something that my dad could hold in his lap when he was sitting on the couch or whatnot. And we looked at all of the animals there, and there wasn't really anything that was smaller. They were all larger dogs, larger breed dogs. So we were just about to leave, and we saw a puppy being brought in, and he wasn't even in the system yet. So we played with him for a little bit and just completely fell in love with him. He was adorable. Apparently, he was the um, most active one out of the litter, and he was so active he was preventing the other litter mates from getting food and things like that. So the owner had to give him up. Uh, when we adopted him that day, but we had to leave him so that he could get neutered and go through all of that kind of stuff. And as we were leaving, we saw the guy that had just dropped him off, and he was sitting in his car crying. Oh, it was so sad. So I walked up to him and I told him that we had adopted his puppy and that we would give him a loving home, and he was just so beyond thrilled. So that was very good. We did have him chipped during that time as well, and we registered the chip, which brings me to the second part of the story. He is a digger, so no matter what yard he's in, he will dig out of your yard and escape under the fence. We had tried all different kinds of things, from getting cinder blocks and lining the fence so that if he dug, the cinder block would fall into the hole that he had just dug. But he learned that he could dig in such a way that the two cinder blocks would fall, but they would, land on each other and they wouldn't be able to fall any further. So he would dig deep enough so that the cinder blocks didn't fall on him. And he escaped. So he was gone for a year. An entire year went by, and we didn't hear or see anything about him until finally we got a phone call one day. And a lady was like, "Are you missing a dog?" And my mom and I were both in the car. We just kind of looked at each other and we said, um, "Well, we've been missing a dog for about a year." Well, come to find out, he had been taken in by a lady and he had escaped from her, and another person found him, and that person took him and got the chip read, and he was still registered to us, so they called us instead of the other person that had found him. So we got him back. That is amazing in itself. Now, a little bit of the sad part is whoever had found him between us losing him and us getting him back abused him. So before I could throw a stick and he would chase it, or, we could jump around and we could play and we could do whatever, and he was never afraid of anything. Now I lift a stick to throw it and he cowers and runs away. Or I lift my hand really quick and he cowers. And it's just heartbreaking to know that somebody who found him, instead of doing the right thing and getting his chip read, took him and abused him. But now he's back and he is happier than ever. He sleeps in bed with me and sometimes he even climbs under the covers because he gets cold. Um, So he is absolutely 100% spoiled. We did end up installing an electric fence and put an electric collar on him so he does not get near the fence anymore and we don't have to worry about him running away. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and I'm going to check my time because I think we might be kind of getting a little close to the end of this video. So I'll be right back. Just one second. All right, I checked. I have 23, almost 24 minutes left. So let's move on to number 16. What are your pet peeves? I have two, really. One is when people chew with their mouth open. I I don't know if that's like a phobia I have or something, but there was a time where I couldn't even go to a restaurant because if people were chewing with their mouth open, it would just drive me absolutely bananas, and I'd have to leave the restaurant. So I would definitely say that a pet peeve is people that chew with their mouth open. And the second one is kind of along the same line, and that's people that chew gum and talk to you while they have gum in their mouth, because it's like you can see the food in their mouth or the gum in their mouth just kind of like flopping around, and it's disgusting. Um, so eating when with your mouth open, talking with your mouth full, that kind of thing. Ugh, I can't cope. Um, and I am often found staring at people that do stuff like that, like they have three heads, and wondering how the heck they can do that because, yeah, it's really gross. And yeah, so that's the answer to number 16. Number 17, what do you do in your free time? Make YouTube videos. Duh. No. Um, so I also of course, I do diamond painting and I do um, make the YouTube videos that go with that. I'm also a freelance graphic editor and I do technical manuals. So, what that means is my company, well, I say my company, my mom's company is actually just her. So don't think that she's got like, some Fortune 500 or something. But what she does is she writes technical manuals. So whenever you get a user manual for a new gadget or something like that, she's the one of the people that writes that kind of stuff. And if any of those manuals have graphics, I'm the one that, creates those graphics. So uh, that is another thing that I do in my free time. I'm also an editor, so when she writes the manual, I will go through and do the editing for it. And so those are some other things I do in my free time. You guys already know about my tea making and I do painting and cooking and all of that kind of stuff. I am allergic to the outdoors, so I don't do anything that includes going outside. Um, so no gardening or mowing the lawn or anything like that. I pay somebody else to do that. So yeah, and that is the answer to number 17, what I do in my free time. Number 18 is, do you have any weird quirks? Uh, Let me think about that one. I'm going to have to pause this while I think about that because I don't want you guys to suffer through an agonizingly long pause. I would say that the only quirks I can come up with are kind of along the lines of my OCD. Like I have my everything is organized. My shoes are organized from color, um, and then inside of that organization, they are organized by type. Um, from the smallest to the largest type. So sandals, and then open toe shoes, and then closed toed shoes, and then anklets and boots. Uh, to give you an idea, my closet is the same way. It's colored, and then the type of shirt. So if it's a sleeveless or short sleeve, long sleeve, sweaters, they're all organized. All of my books are organized alphabetically and, so on and so forth. So I would say that those are my weirdest quirks. Um, Also, I cannot stand sleeping if there's anything on my sheet. Like, even if there's just the smallest grain of sand, I wake up and I will take that sand and take it off the bed and, brush it onto the floor. So, um, that's another one. And I sleep with three pillows, one head pillow and two body pillows. And I have the body pillows on either side of me because I'm a cuddler. So if I roll over on my left side, I can cuddle with the pillow on that side. And then when I want to roll over, I let go of that pillow and I roll over and grab the pillow that's on my other side. So yeah, that would probably be another weird quirk. So that is the answer to number 18. Number 19, what is your favorite color? Oh gosh, my favorite color is black. Uh, I like to say that it changes, but um, my favorite color doesn't really change. And the explanation to that is um, that would be in another video. But anyway, my favorite color is black. Do you have any siblings? Yes, I have a half brother. We share the same mother and we have different fathers. Um, I don't really have much to say about about that. So we're just gonna skip right over to number 21. Do you know your personality type? What is it? I do. It is an INFJ, I believe it is. Let me check to make sure that's correct. Um, yes. So, just to let you know a little bit about the INFJ, it says here that the INFJ is thought to be the rarest Myers-Briggs personality type, making up only 1 to 3% of the population. Um, so some of the, let's see, some of the, I guess, secrets according to this little ad that I pulled up about it is one, it says that we are on a different wavelength. So we may feel like perpetual outsiders. That's because most people aren't on where our wavelength. Um, our dominant function is introverted intuition, uh, subconsciously noticing patterns. So we notice patterns related to human nature because my secondary function is extroverted feeling, which orients me towards people. Although not unnecessarily, sorry, I got choked up there. Although not necessarily a magic power or psychic ability, using my intuition can feel that way because it works subconsciously. So it says I get hunches I can't explain, and this is like a sixth sense. Number two is we're highly perceptive of others. Um, so I can read others really well, grasping their emotional states and motivations in mere seconds. Number three is we absorb other people's emotions. So I don't just sense the emotions of others, sometimes I can actually feel them in my own body. Number four is an amazing long range forecasting ability. So sometimes we feel like prophets or psychics as because what we predict comes true. We don't necessarily have a crystal ball, rather, our introverted intuition helps see the big picture, notice patterns, and make predictions for the future based on those patterns. So number five is both emotional and rational. Although sensitive in emotions, we are often mistyped um, as the INTJ, which is our thinking twin, versus the feeling, which is what we are. We can be quite analytical and scientific, although we may enjoy technology, sciences, and research. Um, yeah, so that is number five. Number six is creators of deep emotional intimacy. So we are extremely relational. God, that's a difficult word. It might just take a while for this side of us to come out because we feel other people's pain and joy. They are able to truly walk in another person's shoes. Their ability to empathize creates very strong bonds of intimacy, perhaps one of the greatest strengths of this personality type. Number seven, we are true introverts, sometimes called the extroverted introverts or even ambiverts. They get this nickname because they can be passionate, enthusiastic, and talkative when in the presence of someone they feel comfortable with. Likewise, when they are fighting for a cause they believe in, like asking someone to sign a petition, they may come across as extroverts. However, true introverts who prefer small circle of friends to a large network of acquaintances. Um, Also, by definition, we need plenty of downtime to recharge our batteries. That is 100% true. Whenever I do my 4 hour um, farmer's market thing on the weekends, it takes me like 3 days to recharge, no lie. So number eight says we are sensitive to conflict. That is due to extroverted feeling. We have a strong need for harmony in our relationships. Number nine, we end up in one-sided relationships. Because we are such great listeners and we truly care about others, we rarely feel the need to hog the spotlight. We also help, we enjoy I lost my place. Oh, we enjoy helping others understand their emotions and grow. So we are nicknamed the counselor personality. Um, yeah, great. And then number 10, looking for our soulmates. Our desire to connect deeply with others, shallow, one-sided relationships won't do. Likewise, because they're introverts, they have limited social energy. So they look for a friend or romantic partner who are their soulmates. These are people who truly click and can feel very real need for authentic connection, intimacy, and meaningful connections. However, we often struggle to create the kind of relationships we desire. So those are the personality traits of the INFJ. Uh, and let me tell you a little bit of problem with being an INFJ and having PTSD because I have all of those traits as the INFJ personality. They are multiplied infinitely because of my PTSD, because the symptoms of my PTSD are withdrawal and avoidance. Um, so it's just a recipe for a hermit. Let's just say it that way. Okay, so moving on to number 22. Have you been into, oh, sorry. Have you been to any concerts or festivals? Oh my goodness, yes, I was a concert going queen when I was younger. I went to the original Burst Lollapalooza, which I believe started the multiple day, multiple band type of venues. I could be wrong. Well, no, because of Woodstock, so don't get me wrong there. But, it started the modern day where there was a lot of the alternative stuff going on. Um, but I went to the original one. I also went to the second, the third, and the fourth, but I kind of quit going after that. I think I aged out of it a little bit. But they were absolutely memorable. I remember during one of them, Pearl Jam was playing, and Eddie Vedder uh, said that weren't enough people near the stage. He wanted everybody to like move up closer to the stage, but there wasn't enough room because they have seating. So everybody ended up like tearing the seating up and tossing that away so that more people could fill in that front section. That was very memorable. It's also one of those um, who was it? Butthole Surfers was playing, and the stadium that I was at had this big hill. The grass seating was this big hill, and that's where all people were, like doing their little camp out thing with blankets and whatnot. And had a big mosh pit, so it was run up the hill and then run down the hill and run up the hill and run down the hill, and it was just a whole bunch of bodies moving um, and kind of ramming into each other and stuff like that. And I got rammed into at the top of the hill, and I hit my chest and like slid all the way down to the bottom of the hill on my chest. And I was very, very blessed. So that was extremely painful because it was like riding down on two gigantic airbags or something. But yeah, so that was also very memorable. Um, Another concert that was super memorable was I went to, of all things, a Jesus Jones and EMF concert when I was like 16 or something. And I was in the third or fourth row, and it was at Six Flags. So it was like, at a amusement park. And everybody around me was smoking marijuana. And I did not do drugs at that time. So I went home and I was so stoned and I didn't know what it was because I thought everybody was just smoking cigarettes. And I was like, I'm so hungry. And oh God, it was awful. So yeah, that was also very memorable. And the last one that I will say was extremely memorable was I went to um, this is going to sound really bad for this band, and I apologize. But I went to a Stone Temple Pilots concert, and I believe there were two other bands playing. I don't even remember who they were, but I fell asleep and I slept through the whole concert because I was just so bored. So yes, those were the concerts and festivals that I've been to that were most memorable. Um, so number 23. What are your favorite value in friends? I would have to say patience um, is a very, very big value because you need a lot of patience to deal with me. And not because I'm a jerk or anything like that, but because I go through long periods of no communication. Like I'll go a year or two without, talking to somebody. And then I'll pop up and I'll be like, hey, what's up? And I'll pick up exactly where we left off. So I would say patience uh, is definitely a favorite value. Also, I like people that are talkative because I'm a very quiet, introverted, shy type of person. So if I have somebody that likes to talk and likes to be the center of attention, then we play very well off of each other. So I can give them all of that attention and I don't have to worry about them giving me the attention. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I do like that kind of um quality in people. All right, so number 24. What is the one thing you wish people knew about you? Um, gosh, I thought about this for like 20 minutes and I can't come up with anything. Um, most, most of the things that I want people to know about me, they know about me. Um, Things that people don't know about me, I don't want them to know that about me. So, yeah, I maybe one thing I wished people knew about me is that I, um, if you ask me to go out with you, then I will say yes, and I'll go out and hang out with people. Um, because a lot of people kind of wait for me to ask them to go out with them, and I don't do that. So maybe that would be it. So yeah, that one. And number 25, what social media are you addicted to? YouTube, if that can be considered social media, which I totally consider it social media. Other than that, the only other account I have uh, well, I have two. I have Facebook, but it's a follow page. So I go on there just to see what other people are doing, really. And Instagram. But anything that I post to my Instagram automatically posts to my Facebook. So I kind of count those as the same thing. Um, so Instagram is the other one that I would absolutely say I'm addicted to because I follow all kinds of people on Instagram and I post anything I post to the internet that's not a YouTube video goes on my Instagram. All right, number 26. How do you get along with your family? I live with my family. I love my family. I even told my mom that we are in the process of selling this house, and I told her that she needs to get a house with an extra bedroom so that when we all move, I can have a craft room because I am not planning on moving out anytime soon. We just have a very symbiotic relationship. As far as the rest of my family goes, there isn't a family member that I hate. There are a couple that um, I don't talk to as often as I probably should, but I love my entire family. Uh, we do have our crazy people and we do have our troublemakers, but it's family. You gotta love them, right? Even if nobody else does. Number 27. What is the biggest struggle you overcame? Um, I would have to say drugs. I when I moved out of the house when I was 16 and um, I ended up getting into drugs and I at the age of 18 overdosed and ended up in the hospital. Um, I had a heart attack and apparently I was really close to dying. So that was a real big wake up call of how far gone I had gotten into drugs. And that was a really big struggle to quit. And I am now clean for, let's see, I quit when I was 18 and I'm in my 40s. So, yeah, I would say that that is the biggest struggle that I have overcome. I think we have time for one more question. Who is your role model? I would have to say my mom because she tries really hard at everything. She's she's not a lazy person. She's not the kind of person that, um, relies on other people to do things for her. She's very strong-willed, extremely intelligent, and she's lived the kind of life that I wish I could have lived. Um, so yes, absolutely 100%. My my mom is my role model. Um, so I will go ahead and wrap this up here and hope that you guys enjoyed this get to know me video. I will probably not be doing another super long video ever, as far as I know, because I am not a talkative person and it's really difficult for me to come up with things to talk about. So I will leave them at the shorter videos. If you enjoy the longer videos, let me know in the description box below, and I'll try to make some that are longer, but probably not an hour and a half. That's a bit long for me. Uh, so, yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you stuck with me this whole time, oh my goodness, hats off to you. You rock. I hope you have a great day. I will see you next time. All right. Bye bye.